Hello and welcome to another episode of Mole Thoughts, where I give you spoiler-free my thoughts on a game. And I just finished Elden Ring. Now, it took me nearly 2 months to finish the game. I did it without any guides, without any maps, without any wikis. I just played the game and enjoyed with what I had. And what you are seeing here, by the way, is just me going through like a certain area in the game. There is no boss fight spoilers or no story spoilers in it, so you don't have to be afraid of that. And as I said, it will also not spoiler you the experience. So there is no like, oh my god, that particular boss fight, name drop, and then telling you what's going on there or anything. That is not gonna happen. This is all like spoiler free. And so I finished the game, and man, what a game! Like, seriously, what an amazing game. Like, the execution of it, the world design in particular, it was basically as if you would have played all three Dark Souls games one after another, but they just put it into one big game and just let you explore the world. Like, I was really unsure how I would feel about Elden Ring going open world. And I can just say they did amazing. Because there are a lot of traps developers are falling into when they are doing an open world game. And, well, I will mention them more often here. But Ubisoft is a wonderful example of this, how they are just like repeating their boss fights, where they're just repeating the enemies. Like, it's on a rinse and repeat all the time when it comes to like Ubisoft open world games. And From Software nearly managed not to walk into that trap. I have to say nearly, because yes, they are repeating enemies there. They are repeating boss fights there, especially at the end. They're doing it a little bit more often. But overall, for the length of the game, I would say we had a repetitiveness. Repetitiveness? Is that even a word? No, it is. Like the game repeated themselves when it comes to like boss fights and like enemies and whatnot about by 25% of the game, which is very low. When you're looking at a Ubisoft game, you have normally like 60 to 70% of the game is like all just repeating things over and over again. And so again, like they did a fantastic job that you are not noticing it too much. And yeah, the world design is just absolutely fantastic. The monster design is different. Like I'm just impressed. Like the boss designs, they have so many. It's just absolutely crazy. At the end, like again, they're falling a little bit short. They have like a lot of moments where you are meeting boss enemies as normal enemies. I was like, really? Like, we are now making those just normal enemies? That's a bit odd, right? Or the other way around. But again, all in all, I think they nailed it. But yeah, in general, like it's just a huge improvement to the Souls games. The same goes with items. I think I have never seen that many weapons and armors in a Souls game. I'm not saying that there aren't any weapons or armors in the Souls games, but Elden Ring is just like going above and beyond to give you choices. Yes, not every weapon is really good. Like there are already some favorites. Like you have seen me here with the what is it, the Bloodhound curved sword, which I then switched out for a spear sometimes. Like I actually tried other weapons. I didn't use this weapon for a very long time. I also did use the what is it, the blasphemous sword. And at the end, actually, I was running around with two whips. Yep, I had two whips, which were doing a lot of bleeding damage. That was also really fun. But yeah, just the amount of choices you have, even if it's not always optimal, is pretty big. And the same goes for armor. Like a lot of the armor you are finding is now split up in categories, like super light armor, leather armor, chainmail armor, and so on and so forth. And then it's really just up to you to choose the armor which you enjoy. There are some armors which are giving you a specific perks, right? So that definitely exists, and there's some armor which is giving you like a lot of poise or a lot of like defensive stats. So it's not just cosmetics, but there is a huge choice of armor you can choose from, and that's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, they have nailed again all the RPG mechanics. And there's not like a lot of bad things I can really say about the game when it comes to like the RPG mechanics. I also think the new features they implemented, like having a mount, open world, as we already talked about, now having also like AI teammates which can help you out. So, instead of like summoning a person, you can summon now your ashes, and then the ashes can help you out. The ashes of war system, speaking of another system for the weapons, is really, really cool. It helps non unique weapons quite a bit. I think this was always a problem in the Souls games, that in the end, most people were going for unique weapons, and normal weapons just got swapped out the moment you got like this specific unique weapon, because they were not that reliable as the unique weapons, right? So yeah, they, thanks to the Ashes of War and that you can now like change the affinity and whatnot, it gives the weapons, even the normal weapons, such a huge boost. And yeah, my two whips I was actually using at the end, they were normal weapons. They were not a unique weapon, and it was pretty cool. Like, I will probably do some other builds with non-unique weapons and just try them out, because the Ashes of War system is now giving you that opportunity, which is fantastic. Like, overall, Elden Ring is an absolute improvement, and it's definitely one of the best games which will probably come out this year, and it might be even one of the best games of all time. But with that said, there was a lot of praise. Let's talk about a few things they really have to fix in the next DLC/expansion or in the next game. Let's talk about camera management and movement. Holy moly, From Software. Look, I have been playing your game since PlayStation 1. I started out with Armored Core. And a lot of the design decisions you make, you have been doing since the PlayStation 1 era. And when it comes to camera movement, like, in all seriousness, what the hell is that? Like, there were literally multiple moments where I was screaming because the camera was not just doing what I wanted it to do, or like it couldn't really lock on to the enemy. Like, the lock-on system was also a big problem. One of the things, just to make you aware of how silly it sometimes becomes, is there seems to be two different lock-on mechanics for big enemies. So let's just take a dragon. There's a lock-on mechanic for the dragon where you can just lock onto the legs, like you can see here with the giant in the background right now, right? And then you can just slash away. It's pretty simple, really, and that's great. That's how it should be. It makes the thing so much easier to do. Awesome. But then some big enemies do not have a lock-on mechanic to the legs, and you can only lock on to the torso or to the head, which is weird because you can still attack the legs. It's not like that you wouldn't do like a lot of damage to that leg or something like that. Like, the legs are still functioning like they do with every other big enemy, and you just cannot lock onto them with the camera. So they have two different camera or lock-on systems, and it's like, why? Why is that a thing, right? I didn't understand that, so would love to see them taking a look at that again and maybe do some changes. That would be appreciated. Another thing I have to say, as amazing most of the boss fights actually were, and I really enjoyed them, especially at the ending, the boss fights became uninspired, I think is the right term. Like the very last boss in Elden Ring. The first phase of that boss fight, cool. I enjoyed that. That was cool. Still, lots of AoE attacks, not always great, but cool. The second phase of that fight was just hell. Not because it was tough, it was boring. Because it was one of those boss fights where you have to hunt an enemy who is teleporting around the room, and till you're running up to the enemy, it will like do like a lot of abilities to basically stop you in your tracks and hits you. And then you can do one or two attacks, rinse and repeat, teleporting away, doing the same thing again. It was so boring. And if you're getting to that point, you will get aware of that, especially because the boss fight you had before this final boss fight, absolute amazing. That boss fight is absolutely amazing and deserves all the praise. Like, they did some crazy stuff on that boss fight, and it's all fun. It's all like you feel like you can counter actually those abilities. Like, it's really one of those get good moments, where if you can read the enemy and what they are doing and how they are doing it, you have the edge. And it is just an intense battle, and it is really, really fun to do. Like, the previous boss fight was one of the best boss fights they did in the whole Elden Ring game. And if they would have said afterwards, this was the last boss, this was it, there's just a cutscene now, I would have been, yeah. Oh yeah, please, end this on a high note. Nope, they put another boss fight after this, and that was just, oh god, okay, yeah, great, fun. Like, it's weird. It's absolutely weird. And as I said, they had some, like, also repeating boss fights. That tree spirit, which is okay. I don't blame them for the size of the game, right? And most of them were fun, but there were also like some of the boss fight where they were basically falling back into their old Souls patterns, which have a lot of like bullshit mechanic in it, and it's really just, well, let's hope the enemy is not using that ability too often, because I don't know how to like even dodge that. And it doesn't feel too great. So yeah, they had a few of those moments, but overall it was pretty good. Another thing we really have to talk about, and I hope in the next DLC expansion they will get better at that, is the Stake of America. So the Stake of America is where you're respawning and you want to be closer to the boss fight or the area you have been in. And I love that they added that, because a lot of the From Software and Souls moments have been, oh, you died as a boss fight? Well, you better now walk for 5 minutes to the boss fight arena with barely anything happening, and it just takes you out of that mindset you were in, that you want to focus on the boss, right? I love that they added that. But for some reason, especially later in the game, they forget about a lot of stakes of Americas. Like, they just, you would expect after some boss fight, oh yeah, there should be a stake around here. Nope. No, it's not. Like, I remember one distinctively where I literally had to take a lift down. That would take a bit because it was a pretty long lift. Then walk through some enemies. Then jump down a cliff. Then jump over multiple stones. And then get to the position where I can finally start the boss again. Like, that was 2 minutes of just wasting my time. And I'm like, why is there no Stake of America here? And then, to put that into contrast, I had a boss where they put a Stake of America right before the boss room. Awesome. Love that. But also, there is a lift before the boss room. you're going down the lift. It takes about 10 seconds maybe. It's a very short lift. And then, I kid you not, right next to the lift is a grace. It's like, wait, what? you saw that this whole go up and down with the lift might be a little bit annoying, so we put a stake up here. But for some other areas where you literally have to walk for 2 minutes and nothing happens, you didn't? Did you forget about that? Like, I sometimes had the feeling they actually forgot about them. It's the small things, I'm pretty sure they can patch this in if they want to, or maybe for the next DLCs, they will put them a little bit more around boss areas. Yeah, that would be nice, or give us more shortcuts again. So, yeah, now it took me around 135 hours. I have nearly 100%ed the game. I say nearly because I missed out on some of the quests because it didn't have any guide, and some of the stuff I missed out on happens. But I nearly 100%ed it. I did all the bosses which are there, all the optional bosses I can do without having to do like a quest or something. I did choose the Rani end for everyone who's interested. It's kind of funny that the Rani end was something I achieved without any guides whatsoever. And then I did read up on some of the other ends, and I have apparently completely missed out on that quest line. It's like, so the most integrated or intricate words and longest quest line, or one of the longest one in the game, is something I managed to do, but the easy ones I managed to miss out. That sounds about me. That sounds about right, yeah. But overall, I think Elden Ring is a fantastic game, which gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of replayability, to be honest. Like, I'm already planning my second playthrough. I basically already have like another 30 hours on the second character, and I will probably continue that. But yeah, just a fantastic game, and especially no microtransactions. Like, nothing. There's not like any window popping up or something where you feel like, man, I really, really have to. I might be better off to buy something in the item shop. Like, one of the things, I know they have made a meme about this, but one of the things I really noticed is you have those stone sword keys, right? Which you need to unlock like some optional / secret areas sometimes. And there was a meme where they basically said, like, if this would have been a Ubisoft game or any other game, really, they would have put this into the item shop and they would have tried to sell this to you. And that really hit me hard, because I just realized how true that is. They would have absolutely done that, and they would have probably reduced the amount of stone sword keys you can find in the wild drastically, so that you can then, if that really annoys you, you can just go into the item shop and pay for it. Or another thing, like, just think about it. They would have sold runes in the item shop. 100% they would have sold the runes. And you know what? Every time I would fail a boss, I would think, man, if I would have 2 or 3 levels more, then this would be actually doable. But it wasn't, so I now have to grind for 2 hours to actually get to the point where I can manage this. Or I'm just going into the shop and buy the runes. And the good thing is, that's not what From Software is doing. That's not what Elden Ring is doing. So I never had the thought of, did they play with the stats and mechanics of this boss to push me more into the direction of spending money? I never had that feeling, because I knew, no, there's no item shop here. It's just me trying to get good and trying to learn the boss, And that's something I'm really thankful for. Yeah. For the impact Elden Ring will have, I've already seen some studios at least taking notes, unfortunately in the wrong direction, as I fear. Like, I've already seen some chatter about, man, people want a harder game. I was like, no, those are all the lessons you shouldn't take from Elden Ring. There's so much more in Elden Ring you could actually like learn from than, oh, we need harder games. Weirdly enough, not a single Souls game won me over because of the difficulty. Not a single one of them. Interestingly enough. I always thought, by the way, that the difficulty is fine. Like, a lot of the difficulty always comes from some of the weird design choices, sloppy camera work, and then just some bullshit mechanics from software didn't fully test out themselves or didn't fully balance, and then they have to do that later on. Right, General Radan? Right. Like, again, I never felt like that the Souls games are really that much harder than everyone makes them look like. They are tough. They're punishing you when you screw it up. That's fine. But I mean, just in general, like, some people make it always look like as if the Souls games are like just the toughest game you will find in the video game industry. And I'm like, well, maybe, but I don't really care for that. Like, this is why I also was not a big fan of Sekiro. Sekiro had similar difficulty, if not even higher than the Souls games, and I didn't like it much because there were no RPG mechanics. Like, none at all, really. And so this is why I always like the Souls games more. It's the RPG mechanics, the lore, the world they are designing, like the items and the choices you have, right? So for me, it was never the difficulty. But folks, with that said, that was a pretty long video. Sorry that it took you so long, but those are my thoughts on Elden Ring. Do I recommend it? You love RPGs? Open world ones, which are really good, which are like close to what The Witcher 3 was? Yes. You might have to get used to some of the elements in the game and to some of the difficulties in the game, for sure. But I think it's worth it. And I have seen multiple of my buddies who normally are not into those games and have normally not played any of the Souls games taking their step in Elden Ring now, and they absolutely love it because of the RPG mechanics and whatnot. So I highly recommend it. Even as at a full price tag, I can say, yes, it's worth it. Absolutely. And yeah, get it if it is remotely interesting to you. It's totally worth it. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you are on your way out, I would appreciate if you leave a like. It would help me out a great deal. If you're new to the channel, you want to get more thoughts videos, daily gaming news, reaction videos to big game announcements, trailers and whatnot, then I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe. It would also help me out greatly. And if you ever want to catch me live with my community, you can do so from Monday to Friday, starting at 9 a.m. ET, which is 2 p.m. UK time, and 3 p.m. Central European time. And you can find me over at trovo.live/ChaosMole. And we are talking about gaming news in the morning, watching some trailers, and then we are always playing the newest and hottest games, and also some interesting indie games. So yeah, if you want to stop by, I would greatly appreciate that. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.